Hello, welcome to Flooring Models Kit Review time. Today we've got RIICH Models 1/35 scale universal carrier with crew. Now, to be honest, Matt sent me down this kit, part of PM Models range. Really didn't know what to expect. Didn't take much notice of it. It was just in the box with all the others. And then I actually opened up the kit and suddenly it's like, wow, this is really heavy. This actually is stuffed full of plastic, having not known the company or anything else at all. So I thought we'd have a look through together and see exactly what we get in the box. So, straight off the bat, as you can see, nice colourful sort of box art on the front down in there. We got a little bit, obviously, all about it. One reason why it might be so heavy, we have got quite a bit of photo etch down in here, and obviously we've got decals and markings. You haven't heard of RIICH Models before? They're out of Hong Kong. Okay, so your kit number for this one, as you can see, is RV35011. Okay, and we've got a couple of the different markings down in there, which is quite nice because we've sort of got a desert version and a dark, and then we've got a nice sort of urban light one as well. Okay, right the way through. So, opening up the box, just stick that down in there. There we go. We find the manual. Just pop that out over there. So, I think we just have to drop that camera down just a little bit more. There we go. So, nice, good, solid manual. Okay, obviously the usual blurb about it down at the front, and then straight into the guts of it, as you can see down in here. Just pull that back a little bit more. There we go. Get you all in. Okay, so usual thing. We've got the tree call outs, the sprues, decals, things like that, to see what we're going to get in the actual kit, and then running in, and immediately you're greeted with obviously the full detailed engine, which then obviously set this apart from pretty much all the others out there, that obviously this is going to be full interior detailed right the way through. So working our way through the actual engine itself, and then the cooling system, radiator, transmission, we've got the deck going down in there, loads of different stowage bins put in there and all the rest of it, the exhaust system, and then down in here you're suddenly thinking, is that a real spring? Yes, it is. So we've got real springs, we've got real suspension on this thing as well. Okay, so this gives you an idea of obviously how detailed this actually is when we're getting into actually having working gear. So again, right the way through, down through the transmission, through the drive shafts, so the sprockets, things like that, as it makes its way through. Then we've actually got all the actual gear being fitted to it, and then the track system. Now the track system is made up of plates and then individuals for around the cogs. Unfortunately, it is not a working item. And then right the way through, so we've got the guards going in over the top, and then we're actually working down into the midsection. So we've got the exhaust coming up out the back, and then obviously the plating being put in, things like that. Again, nice to see we've got some cross angles, so you can see exactly to make sure you got your areas all lined up right the way through. Then we've got more photo etch parts being fitted in that need bending and adding, and as you can imagine, right the way through on the entire thing. So again, pretty much a very nice mixture of metal and plastic parts right the way through. You can see more of the stowage items all being fitted down into there, into the deck, and then the all important engine being fitted down there as well. And then again, highly detailed parts going right the way through, showing, as you see, these little guys going down in here. How detailed is that? Photo etch being bent into position from putting those in there as well. Okay, then we got some of the bulkheads for the actual compartment as well, some of the armor plating, things like that being fitted in there, and then dropping down on the top. And then again, we've got floor sections being put in right the way through, and then some stowage items. Okay, then into more of the items going down inside. So we've actually got gun holders being fitted in, more boxes, more bits of photo etch being put in there and added right the way through, depending on how you want to have it all fitted out. All right, and then again, loads of stowage items, seats, crew access, things like that, all the way through, as you might imagine. Plenty of it going on with this particular build. Highly detailed right the way through. Armor plates being fitted to the side. We've also got the steering wheel being fitted in. Then we've got the lights and some more of the external areas. We've got the Bren being fitted down here in the front, and then again, some more boxes for down on the side as it makes its way through. As you can imagine, fire extinguishers, things like that being fitted down onto this one, and then again different setups for different loadouts, things like that, as this one's being fitted in. So down the back here again, we've got another Bren carrier obviously on a mount as well. And then again, lots of photo etch to cover up a lot of the exhaust and some of the hot parts, strapping, mounting plates, foot plates, things like that, all out of photo etch, plenty of it in this particular one. We've got all the tools and the accessories being fitted to the outside, tow cables, some more boxes, things like that being fitted on there, just like that. And then eventually, after you've got all these sections together, you're greeted with the crew. Yes, you actually get the full crew for this one as well. So we've got a 3-man crew for it. So you've obviously got the driver, the commander, and the radio operator down there for that as well. A lot more detail than I thought I was going to be greeted with. To be honest, say, looking at the box, extremely deceptive. Okay, so down in here, we've got the one for the Canadian Infantry, 1st Canadian Infantry Division in Italy in 1943 with the more sort of sand colours. Then we've obviously got one for the Polish Cavalry in Holland 1944 in your standard sort of olive drab. And then we've got this one down in here for the New Zealand Division in Liberia, December 1941. Okay, and this very nice sort of, lighter green shades right the way through. Okay, or again, we've got the one from England with the Canadian Infantry 1941 from Aldershot, again with a sort of two-tone dark green over olive drab down on there like that. So again, some nice little schemes for it as well. So where do you begin? Let me delve down in here, and let's start with some of these smaller parts first. So again, lighting and stuff like that, as you can imagine, there's not a lot to it. There's a couple of little sort of Pharrell lenses down in there for the lights. We've got some chain and a little bit of thread down there as well for your tow cables and various items. Very nicely done. This is, I won't dare to get any of this out because we'll lose it. As we said, active working spring suspension, and we've got rods down in there as well. So plenty of little detail parts like that to really make this thing pop. And then down in here, which we will just whip this guy open, we do have, if I can get him out, actually perhaps we'll just take the easy route. We've got multiple decals. As I say, we will have a quick look at the decals purely because I don't know the company, but first of all we'll look at this photo etch. Here you can see very thin, very nice photo etch right the way through. Okay, nice details on that one and on this one. Again, you can see it, very nicely done indeed. Okay, and the last piece up, again, really nice set there. Okay, so decals, purely because I just want to have a look. We've got the actual figures, their insignias and markings as well, with the Canadian ones on the top. Maybe a tiny little bit slant out of register, if I'm honest, only because it looks like the Canada is slightly off to one side and not very central. Okay, and then let's pop that in there before we lose it. And then again, these, yeah, again, when you're looking at the carrier film, it looks very, very thick. Okay, so just being careful how you mount that one is. Might need a couple of coats of flat coat just to go down in there as well, but generally it's all there. Nice, clean, sharp details, but maybe a little bit thick on the decals if we're honest. Okay, right, into the plastic parts. So, bags are sealed. We'll get the old cutters in here. Okay, looks like we've got 2 sprues per bag, which is fair enough. Did something just fly out that bag then? I hope not. Okay, so if we just drop this camera down just a little bit, then we can do both. Okay, so generally looking around it, it seems to be pretty good, I have to say. Nice, sharp, clean details all over this one. No problems at all. No real sign of flash. There's no real burring on the sprue whatsoever. Even feeling the edge of the outside of the sprue, there's nothing in there, which is a nice touch. But generally, if we work our way around it, show you in the light, you can see those details. Very, very nice indeed. No problem with any of those. Again, really, really sharp, crisp. No real sign of flash anywhere either, which is a nice touch. Okay. Pretty good. The injection pins are all either they look like they're slightly raised, but only a tiny bit, which in some ways I prefer because it's easier to remove a raised one than it is a sunken one, to be honest. Okay, but generally very nice on the blind side. There is maybe a little bit ejector pin heavy, you might be able to see it down in here, but generally I think that would be okay. You can hide those away with no real problems. Okay, moving over to onto here, again, very nice. Nice sharp contact points between the sprue gates and the actual items as well, so no problem on any of these smaller parts down on here. Very, very nicely done. Again, Got a little bit of fluff sort of over it. It's a drag of sprue. You can see it was down there and it's gone off here, but we're not taking any notice of that. That's all cool. Okay, and then, but again, looking at it, as you can see, really nice, sharp details on the plating. The way this goes through is actually quite sharp to the touch, which is always a very nice touch. And even this baggage item with the moulding marks in there and things like that for this tarp looks actually really very, very nice indeed. No problems with any of this. Again, really clean and sharp, which is nice because, as I say, I don't know this manufacturer at all. I've never heard or anything with them, so it's nice to have a little bit of a surprise with these, and you're suddenly thinking, right, okay. When other things come along, you sort of get a bit of a feel for the company. You know what they're capable of and what they're doing. Sorry, a bit of a hash getting in this one. Okay, so down on here we've got a little bit of the deck work, but again, and the side paneling, really nice, sharp, clean. We have got a little bit of flash here and there, but it's not as heavy or so much in the way. It's just little parts maybe, but generally that's all pretty good. Okay, so whipping round, you can see the small parts maybe just picking up a little bit of flash, but again, it's nice, these tiny little parts like this, nice, tight, sharp molds, no problems at all. And if anything, the flashy bits tend to be on off bits that you're not really worried about anyway. Okay, it's not like it's an active part, but things like down in the steering wheel, you see is pretty devoid of it. This little gear selector, you know, we've got the little H box down in there, and it's really very, very nicely done indeed. Clean, crisp moulding. That's exactly what we like to see on this. Again, very little burring. And again, even on the blind side, yes, there is a lot of ejector pins, but they are pretty well hidden. I don't know how well you can see them on just the full overhead. You know, it's not like they're jumping out at you and anything else. It's actually really very nicely done. And again, because this is quite a small little vehicle, there's a hell of a lot of detail going into it for something that is so small as well. So down in here we have a match pair. Okay, so you can see this is the track. You can see how small it is, even in 1/35. It's actually quite small. We've actually got the road wheels. The drive sprocket is exceptionally nicely detailed. Very sharp details all over that one. No problem with any of this whatsoever. The seats have all got sort of mold marks, things like that. The boxes, everything else. And even the track looks very, very fine, very detailed. No problem with that at all. Really very, very nice, even on the blind side down in here. Exceptionally well done. Okay, so engine parts, so various things as you might imagine on this, pretty much right the way through. Again, nice sharp details. We've sort of got all the running gear, transfer shafts, things like that. As you can imagine, really very, very nicely done. Again, actually really nice. Very nice, sharp, good details on all of this, even on something small like this. Right the way down to here, you can actually see the spark plugs going in the top, in the pots. Okay, very, very nice indeed. Some good detailing on this, and it is all sharp details as well. It's all nice and crisp. There's nothing fuzzy about it. I do hate it when smaller parts are moulded and they're sort of there. Don't like those. Okay, so and we got more of the actual gear down in here. We've got the brain gun, the various parts, as you can see. Again, really very nicely done, no problem. Looks like we've got the radio equipment, things like that on here. Again, we've got a little bit of breakage down here in the middle, which is unfortunate, but it's not going to take too much to put that together. I would literally glue that in situ, then remove it afterwards. Okay, no problem. So more gear, so we've got shovels and picks and fire extinguishers, tow eyes, tow hooks, things like that, as you might imagine, right the way through on that. So that's very nice indeed. Okay, last up we have the crew and more weaponry. So just down in here we've got the rifles. Again, actually quite nicely detailed. You look at them and they think, yeah, but actually there's more detail on there when you look closer at it. Some very nice details. Okay, we've got some of the brain guns down in there again, really very nice indeed. Both sides of the moulding, and then obviously we've got the either with the bipod out or stowed. And then the all-important crew, which again, actually very nicely done. Got a little bit of a centre seam in this one, it's a little bit of burring, going to need a little bit of taking care of, but generally no problem at all. And looking around at the face detail, seems to be quite nice. As I say, I'm not a figure painter by any stretch of the imagination, but actually that looks nice. Got a little bit of flash around all of these parts for this. If anything, these are probably the most flashiest on the entire kit itself, but it's easy clean up with those, no problem. You might see down here at the back, you're not going to see these areas, but there's quite a bit of flash, or burring I should say, between the two sandwich layers as it goes through. And also this styrene, as you can tell, not just by the colour but the feel of it, this is totally something different. It's not the standard. This is far more brittle than what's actually in the kit. So there we go. Again, I love this type of kits because I don't know what I'm going to get until literally I open up the box, and that's the first time I've gone through all the plastic like it, and have to say, very, very impressed. It's a highly detailed sort of universal carrier like that. I don't think I've seen one that much before, especially with a little bit of mechanics in there, real springs for the actual running gear, things like that. Again, very nice touch. Downside, okay, it would have been nice if we had a different option for the track instead of having to lock it all together. Even a type of working track I think would be absolutely lovely. I'm not sure if there's any aftermarket guys who've jumped on it for this one for actually making those types of tracks and everything else. But if you do want something small but absolutely perfectly formed, that is definitely the kit for you.